In October of 2011, I suffered a work-related tear to my left rotator cuff and biceps tendon. We were transferring a patient from the operating table to his hospital bed when he became violent and thrashing. In the efforts to keep him on the operating table and not on the floor, I ended up sacrificing my left shoulder for the sake of patient safety. I continued to work for months after that, while the insurance company, Regent Insurance, or QBE, dicked around running me through their little maze of let's try this and let's try that. Finally, after 7 months, they let me have an MRI, which is the clinical diagnostic tool for this injury. Neurosurgeons and ENT surgeons alike that I was working with at the time all said MRI is one of the first things to do. This ultimately resulted in surgical repair on December 14th, 2012. It could have been done sooner, but when the surgeon said I'd be off for at least 3 months, I put the surgery off for months because I knew workers' comp benefits would not be enough to survive financially. So I continued to work with the injury and saved up some money to supplement the workers' comp payments. For those of you who don't understand or don't know, have never known how workers' comp is supposed to work, here are the basics. The employer buys an insurance policy to protect them against loss for on-the-job injuries to workers, and it pays premiums for that policy. In the event of an injury, the insurance company is to provide payment of medical expenses related to the injury, and also to provide weekly payments of 2/3 of the employee's pay. It's 2/3 because it is paid on gross and it is tax-free. Let's take an example. For illustration purposes, we'll use $500 a week gross. I know. Some of you are saying, man, if I made $500 a week, I'd be in hog heaven. And others are going, $500 a week? I pay more than that in taxes. I'm just using it as a number, just to make the point. The problem in my case, and in the case of anybody else who travels for a living, is that half of my pay is in the form of stipends and housing, or stipends for housing and meals. They're called per diems, while I'm working far away from home. Workers' comp has no provision for 2/3 payment on those amounts. So in reality, the insurance company, QBE, is only required to pay 2/3 of half my pay, which is 1/3 of the gross. Now, I make more than $500 a week, but the principle is still the same. And of course, my now ex-agency, Nurses PRN, quit paying my meal and housing stipends because even though I'm trapped far away from home with a medical condition, I'm not actively under contract with a hospital. It's kind of a raw deal, but I resigned myself to it and prepared for it. No cable, no internet, pay off MasterCard, no frivolous spending, cut out Halloween, Thanksgiving, New Year's, minimalized Christmas, no annual eye exam, no dental exams. You know, I thought I was ready. I've been off 12 weeks as of 3/15/13. That's today when I'm making this video. And despite pleas to my lawyer, Mark Floyd, who said the payments would begin automatically, and his inquiries to their attorney, Thomas Pettit, the insurance company, QBE, has only made a single payment for 1 week. In fact, QBE has done nothing but fight me over treatment, drag out treatment, fight me over medications, and refuse to make their obligated workers' comp payments. 1 missed week could be an oversight. 2 missed weeks is marginal. 3 and 4 weeks is unacceptable. They say they sent the first check to my Arizona address, my primary address, which is, and that's actually incredible, since all the prior correspondence from them was sent to my temporary address. My prescription card was sent to my temporary address near St. Louis. My first doctor's office was paid for to a doctor in St. Louis. The x-ray was billed and paid for out of St. Louis. The initial physical therapy was paid for to a PT in St. Louis. They paid for an MRI in St. Louis. They paid for the surgeon's office visit in St. Louis. They paid for the surgical procedure in St. Louis. They paid the anesthesia provider in St. Louis. They paid the surgeon in St. Louis. They paid for first assist services for the surgery in St. Louis. They paid for post-op physical therapy in St. Louis. And they paid for the prescriptions in St. Louis. They knew I lived temporarily in the St. Louis area, and that's where I would need to have my checks. Anyway, they say they cut a check to Arizona and they'd go ahead and cut one to my temporary address in the St. Louis area. The 5th week, I did receive a check for 1 week payment. After all that, they cut a check for 1 week, should have been for 5 weeks. Now, not cutting a check for 7 weeks after that is nothing but intentional. Though I managed to get a little cash set aside to supplement the workers' comp payments, I was counting on those payments to subsist. So I gave up my housing and moved into my van. What a great place to heal and recuperate. I tried to take money out of my 401k, but my ex-agency, Nurses PRN, refuses, saying that as long as I'm on workers' comp, I am technically still employed, despite the fact that I've notified them in writing that I will not continue to work for them as long as they use a company that refuses to make its legally obligated payments. They say I can have the money to pay a bank to stop foreclosure or eviction, or I can use the money to pay a doctor for medical bills, but money for food and gas or housing while 1,500 miles away from home is not a hardship. It's just an outright frivolous request. I can't get unemployment because I'm supposedly receiving workers' comp. So here I am, living in my van, hanging out at interstate rest stops, Walmart and hospital parking lots, eating ramen noodles every day, crapping in a 5-gallon bucket, and getting by with the street skills I have. That gets old and cold real quick. Alright, let's take a little tour of the van now. Van open. Here we go. Oh, there's my office. Got my laptop, all my paperwork I need, my little postal supplies, Sharpies and pens and pencils. Alright, let's go around and check out the rest of the van. There's my backyard. Got a play set and everything here at the rest stop. When I'm at the rest stop, I actually have a real bathroom too. Alright, van living 101. Let's see, there's my bedroom. I don't know how well you can see that because lighting. Got complete with dressers and everything. Okay. Bed. That's what I call my living room. Got my quote entertainment system. Got a little divider between the cab and stuff, so my furnace down here will keep it 30 degrees warmer than it is outside. 30 and only 30. Think about that on the cold nights. This is my fridge. Ta-da! Here's my refrigerator. There's my pantry. And there's my bathroom. And there's my security system. Still won't go anywhere without a security system. Here's my recycle bag. There's my laundry hamper. My extra gas supply. Alright, back inside. So now I'm trying to mount a media, social network, and political campaign to try to get the money due to me. I'd like to say this is like a David and Goliath story, but while QBE is certainly a modern day giant, I'm no David. I'm just a plain old guy. I've told numerous people at Nurses PRN that I will not take another assignment with PRN or refer nurses to PRN as long as they continue to use QBE. Knowing what's in store for me when I'm handed over to QBE after an injury while caring for a patient would severely compromise my ability to put patient safety ahead of my own, and that's unacceptable. When I sacrifice myself for the good of my patient, I want to know I have the full, undivided, and unrestrained support of my company behind me. PRN is not providing that. Working for PRN is okay as long as you're healthy. Get hurt and you're suddenly treated third worldly. You can't talk about how valuable your nurses are and then have some strong-arm insurance company representing you that refuses to acknowledge that you have even a minuscule value as a human being. Until I get the respect and care that Nurses PRN demand and that I demand of myself that I give my patients, I will do all I can to publicize PRN's lack of support and their use of QBE and what a horrible experience I've had with QBE. I'm not going for some sympathy thing. I lived well, and now I'm not living so well. Join 10 million other unemployed, homeless, or downsized. I'll survive. What I'd like people to take away from this is an outrage against those who are unnecessarily causing this. Corporations, insurance companies, and lawyers. I want people to contact Nurses PRN and tell them to support their nurses and get rid of QBE. I want nurses not to sign on with Nurses PRN as long as they use QBE. I want people to contact QBE and tell them to pay their bills just like you and I do. I want people to refuse to work for any employer that uses QBE. I want people to find out who their employer's workers' comp insurance company is and talk to co-workers who have had to use it. Here's the contact information for the players involved. There's myself, Regent Insurance, the Workers' Comp Board, their attorney, Thomas Pettit, Nurses PRN, both the headquarters and the local office. I've also put this information and pictures of the van on Facebook. On my site, on my page, That Old Hippie. What do you think, I'm justified, or you think I'm whining? Go ahead and send me an email at thatoldhippie@hotmail.com. Thanks for watching.